The Mega Knight has been one of the most hated cards in Clash Royale since the day it was released. On paper, he looks like a cool card with his big armor and heavy jumps. In practice, he has frustrated players over and over because of how much value he can create with very little effort. His spawn damage is massive and wipes out entire swarms the moment he lands. Then when he starts jumping from troop to troop, he crushes anything that is not a tank. Many players hate how low skill the card feels. With just one drop, you can shut down a full push and instantly go on the counterattack. The 7 elixir price tag might look high, but the value often feels unfair. When Mega Knight is paired with support cards like Electro Wizard or Witch, he can march straight to a tower while clearing everything in his path. People complain that defending him takes too many specific counters like P.E.K.K.A. or Inferno Tower. Even then, a mistake means your tower is gone. This mix of huge damage on spawn jumps and the ability to punish players for overcommitting makes him one of the most complained about cards in the game. The Firecracker is not hated because she is too strong in terms of damage. She is hated because of her mechanics. Her long-range shots look harmless at first, but the knockback after every attack makes her one of the most annoying cards in Clash Royale. Each time she fires, she slides back and resets her position. This makes it very hard to get rid of her with troops, since she keeps running away from danger. On defense, she chips away at pushes from the other side of the arena while staying alive. On offense, she can sit behind a tank and constantly force trades in her favor. Players hate the randomness of her pathing as well. Sometimes she slides into the right lane, sometimes the left, and this can ruin a defense plan. She gives so much value for just 3 elixir, especially in long games where her chip damage adds up. Many players say they would rather face stronger cards than deal with a Firecracker that survives for half the match. Her ability to be cheap, slippery, and endlessly frustrating has made her one of the most disliked cards in the entire game. Royal Recruits are one of those cards that split the community, but many players list them among the most hated. The reason is simple. They flood both lanes with 6 units that are tanky enough to block pushes and slow down games. Dropping them on defense can stop nearly any push because they cover such a wide area. For the opponent, this often feels unfair because there is no easy way through. The cost of 7 elixir might look balanced, but the value you get for it is often frustrating to face. In lower and mid ladder, they are hated because they act like a wall that new players cannot break. In higher ladder, they still annoy players because they can stall games and force drawn-out battles. Royal Recruits do not take much skill to use. You just drop them and watch them soak up everything while setting up your counter push. This low skill, high reward nature is what makes them so disliked. They may not end games quickly, but they create a slow, suffocating match style that many people would rather avoid. That is why they are always brought up in discussions about the most frustrating cards. The Goblin Barrel is one of the oldest cards in Clash Royale and has stayed relevant for years. It is also one of the most hated cards by players across all levels. The reason is that it can deal free chip damage if the defender does not have the right counter in hand. For just 3 elixir, the barrel can land on your tower, and the goblins start stabbing right away. If you miss your log or zap, you instantly lose hundreds of hit points. This makes it feel cheap and unfair, especially for new players. Over time, it becomes a cycle tool that keeps forcing responses. Many players hate the repetitive nature of constantly defending against barrels. At the top level, it is used with cards like Princess and Rocket to slowly chip down towers while defending with bait units. For casual players, it feels like a card that punishes them for not having the exact right counter. The element of surprise also adds to the frustration. Even if you predict it, the placement tricks like throwing it in the corner can catch you off guard. This mix of annoyance, skill checks, and constant chip damage has made Goblin Barrel one of the most disliked cards in Clash Royale history. Hog Rider is one of the most hated cards because of how fast and aggressive he is. He ignores troops and goes straight for the towers and only can be stopped by buildings, making him very difficult to deal with if you are unprepared. At 4 elixir, he can punish players who do not have strong defensive troops ready. Many players dislike him when he is played as the first card because it forces an immediate reaction. If your deck relies on slower heavy units, Hog Rider can take a huge chunk of damage before you even have a chance to respond. He pairs well with spells like Fireball or Zap, which makes him even more annoying because he can survive small counters and still reach the tower. His jumping speed allows him to dodge slower troops and chip away at towers little by little. Hog Rider decks are usually fast cycle, which means he can keep coming at you over and over. Players hate having to predict where and when he will attack, because a wrong move can cost them the game. The low skill required to use him, combined with how punishing he can be, has led to frustration across ladder and casual play. Hog Rider is simple to understand, but very hard to stop consistently, which is why he is frequently cited as a most hated card. Tornado is a spell that frustrates players because of its unique mechanics. For 3 elixir, it can pull troops into the center or into splash damage killing ranges. This can ruin pushes or force your troops out of position completely. Players dislike it because it allows a defensive player to get huge value without much effort. It is especially hated in combination with splash damage troops because it can wipe out swarms instantly. Tornado can also activate the King Tower, which gives the opponent a long-term advantage that is hard to recover from. Many players feel powerless when they drop a push and the Tornado redirects everything, negating all their effort. The timing of the spell feels unfair because even one small misplacement can completely ruin an attack. It works against both ground and air units in ways that are hard to predict, adding to the frustration. Casual players often struggle because they do not expect the pull or the King Tower activation. Professionals also dislike it because it demands constant attention and exact placement to avoid losing value. Tornado is cheap yet incredibly punishing in the right hands. Its versatility and the way it can completely ruin your strategy is why so many players have it high on their hated cards list. Archer Queen is a champion that many players hate because of her strong offensive and defensive potential. She can attack from a distance, use her invisibility ability to dodge attacks, and reset the attack of towers or troops. At 5 elixir, she is very efficient because she combines offense and defense in one card. Her ability to dodge attacks makes her frustrating to defend against, since even well-placed troops may not stop her. Players complain about how low skill she needs to use effectively. You just drop her and she can chip towers, support pushes, and handle troops without much micromanagement. In ladder play, she often allows one player to gain value while forcing the other to spend multiple cards to stop her. Her ability to move across the battlefield quickly and her invisibility make her feel unfair because she survives when other cards would be taken out. The low skill requirement combined with her power has made her disliked among many players. Even casual players report feeling frustrated when facing her because she can swing momentum and deal damage in ways that feel impossible to counter without having specific cards in rotation. Her mix of speed, invisibility, and value has solidified her as one of the most annoying cards to play against. Little Prince is hated mainly for his annoying mechanics and voice lines. At 3 elixir, he can deal serious damage when paired with support troops or spells. The Little Prince's ability is called Royal Rescue. After a 1-second delay, the Little Prince activates his Royal Rescue, causing Guardian to charge directly in front of the Little Prince and knock opposing ground troops away by 0-2 tiles. Depends on how close the unit is to the sweet spot, while also doing moderate damage. After the charge is completed, Guardian stays in the arena until she's taken out. His voice lines are considered irritating because they repeat constantly during the match. Even if you manage to block him, he still creates pressure with his long reach and area control. He is simple to use but very punishing for opponents who miscalculate even slightly. Newer players often report losing a tower to Little Prince because they did not have the exact counters ready. He can work both defensively and offensively, making it hard to know how to react. When paired with spells like Fireball or Zap, he becomes even more unstoppable. Players often say he feels cheap because the high DPS is so strong relative to his elixir cost. The combination of annoying voice, predictable pathing, and high DPS makes him a card that many players dread facing and consider one of the most hated in Clash Royale. The Evolved P.E.K.K.A. is often one of the most hated cards because of how much power it brings to the field. Regular P.E.K.K.A. is already strong with massive health and damage, but the evolved form takes it to another level. It can heal itself, crush swarms, and continue fighting even after taking a beating. Players find it unfair because there are very few cards that can stop it head-on. If you try to distract it with swarm troops, it wipes them out easily. If you use a big tank, the P.E.K.K.A. still chops it down without much trouble. This makes it feel unstoppable in many situations. The frustration comes from how little effort it takes to use. Just place it down and let it walk up the lane, and it will demand a huge response from the opponent. For casual players, this is exhausting because they may not always have the right counters ready. Competitive players also hate it because its stats are so high that it breaks normal strategies. The card can dominate both defense and offense while being hard to punish. The constant healing adds to the annoyance, since it feels like your effort is wasted. With its overwhelming strength and unfair value, the Evolved P.E.K.K.A. has earned a reputation as one of the most frustrating cards in Clash Royale. The balloon is a simple but extremely hated win condition. It costs 5 elixir and heads straight for the tower, dropping bombs that deal massive damage. Even if it never reaches the tower, its death damage almost always connects. Players hate it because defending against it is not only hard, but also stressful. Air targeting troops have to be placed perfectly, or the balloon will still reach the tower. If you are even a second late, your tower takes a huge hit. The balloon also pairs very well with freeze, rage, or tank units like Lava Hound, making it almost impossible to stop once the combo is rolling. What frustrates players the most is that you can play solid defense, but the balloon still guarantees damage through its death bomb. Unlike other win conditions that can be stopped completely, balloon almost always finds a way to punish. In lower arenas, it can feel unbeatable because new players may not have enough air defense. In higher levels, it is still dangerous because of its ability to two-shot towers when supported. This mix of guaranteed damage, pairing with spells, and the sheer pressure it creates makes Balloon one of the most hated cards in the game. The Dagger Duchess is a newer card that quickly became one of the most hated. She is a tower unit, meaning she defends extremely well and provides massive value at no elixir cost. Players dislike her because she can counter entire pushes almost on her own, while also generating an elixir advantage. This makes her feel overpowered and unfair to face. Even strong pushes with tanks and support troops can crumble when she is on the field. She has the ability to control lanes and punish opponents without much risk. Many players feel like she kills the bait archetype entirely, because she can clear swarms and small troops with little effort. The main reason people hate her is the low skill needed to get huge value. She makes games feel repetitive because the opponent is forced to cycle around her presence over and over. In competitive play, she is viewed as disruptive because she changes how entire decks function. Her ability to swing matches so easily makes her disliked across the board. With her overwhelming utility and low effort use, Dagger Duchess has already gained a spot on the most hated list. The Evolved Cannon is another card that players love to hate. The regular cannon was already a solid building that could stop tanks for just 3 elixir, but its evolved form makes it even more oppressive. It spawns a cannon with identical stats to the original. After deployment, the cannon shoots 9 cannonballs in 2 rows, 5 on the top row and 4 on the bottom, which deals area damage and inflicts knockback. Players complain that it is one of the best evolutions in the game because it provides too much value for its cost. It makes life miserable for win condition users since it stops Hog Rider, Giant, Royal Giant, Balloon, Swarms, and even support troops with ease. This forces many decks to rely on specific counters just to get past it. The frustration comes from how cheap and reliable it is. You spend 3 elixir and get a defense that feels nearly unbreakable. The evolved version can punish both casual and competitive players by ruining offensive strategies. It also lasts long enough that it can support a counterpush after the defense. For many players, this feels unfair, since one small building can shut down so many win conditions. Its efficiency and dominance in the meta have made the Evolved Cannon one of the most disliked cards in Clash Royale. The Evolved Electro Dragon is one of the most frustrating cards to face because of how disruptive it is. The regular Electro Dragon already has a strong chain lightning attack that can hit multiple targets at once. After the first 3 targets are hit, this attack will continue bouncing infinitely between all troops until only one remains alive. That's the difference between the normal and Evo. Players hate it because it can completely fry entire pushes in seconds. Swarms like Minions, Bats, or Skeleton Army disappear instantly, and even support cards like Musketeer or Wizard get stunned and chipped down before they can do much. This makes it very difficult to build a push, since the Evolved Dragon shuts everything down at once. The constant stuns also mean that your troops cannot fight back properly, which feels unfair. On defense, it can dominate with little support, and on offense, it forces your opponent to overspend just to keep up. What annoys players most is how oppressive it feels. Instead of careful placement and timing, it takes little effort to gain massive value from this card. You drop it, and it fries everything in its path. Competitive players complain that it warps the meta by countering too many strategies. Casual players hate the feeling of helplessness when all their troops get stunned and melted. With its overwhelming control and ability to shut down pushes, the Evolved Electro Dragon has secured a place among the most hated cards in Clash Royale.